What's up, you guys? James Strickland here. Welcome to week 38 on my road to 700 pounds on bench press. This week is a long awaited for deload week. Basically, what that means is I go 3 weeks heavy, and I don't mean max, but I mean I basically just go heavy and progressively get heavier for 3 weeks. And then on the 4th week, I take that week and I go back about roughly 70 to 75% of whatever the previous week's heaviest main sets were. The accessories typically are cut back as well, either by the number of reps and number of sets, or obviously the weight as well. So the purpose of a deload is to give myself an active week of rest. Basically I have my 4-day split every week where I'm going pretty tough weights. And then I have 3 days of that particular week that I take as a complete rest day where I'm not even in the gym at all. But a deload week, I do the exact same split and I take 3 days off completely as well. But I also back the weights down on the 4 days that I'm actually in the gym. So I'll kind of go into the video review here in just a minute and let you guys kind of see what a typical day looks like on my deload week. If you guys haven't followed my training before, be sure to subscribe to the channel and go back and take a look at some of the weeks prior. Been at the 700-pound bench press goal for just over a year now. Very exciting to share this with you guys. It's not an easy goal at all. Don't think it's ever going to be for anybody, but definitely want to share this with you guys. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the video recap for this week. So starting off every workout of bench, I start with arm circles and band, and I'll actually do a full video on my full warm-ups, but just to kind of give you a little glimpse into it. I do the bar, and it really just depends on how I feel. Some days I will do the bar for just 10 reps, some days for 20 or 30. The next step up is typically a plate on each side for me, and that's 135. Like I said, there's not a set number of reps typically. I go completely on feel. I do urge that if you're gonna need more warm-up, I would get it with the lower weights and not with your higher singles. Moving on here, 225. I typically do about 8 to 10 of these. Keeping perfect form, I set up the exact same way no matter what the weight is, and I treat the weight as if it's 600 pounds. Moving on to 315. This strategy I actually learned and got from Jeremy Hornstra, another great bench presser, which is to do one paused rep of 315, rack it, and basically reset, and then do 3 quick reps in succession just to kind of fire off and get those fast twitch muscle fibers ready. Since I'm working up to 455 today, 405 just for a single there. Sometimes I do that for a double. This is my first set of 455 for a triple. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that this wasn't heavy. It's funny, on a deload week, it's pretty difficult to go in, and plus you're banged up from the 3 weeks prior, but it's a mental game. You want to bring it and you want to stay safe, but the weight will typically feel a little heavier on a deload week, especially when you needed the deload. I've found that the weeks that the weight on a deload, considering this is almost 200 pounds, or it's about 150 or so pounds less than last week, it does feel a lot heavier than 455. So no matter what weight you get to, it's okay if that deload feels a little off. Moving through the same sets of back down. This is the wider grip. This is 2-inch wider. So this is probably about 25 to 26 inches from, it's basically pinky on the ring, or actually middle, ring finger on the ring. That was 320 for 2 sets of 6. Moving on, I've got my weighted dips. This is just 25 pounds. So I'm just using a little dumbbell there. This is 2 sets of 8 reps, really holding it at the top. CNS is kind of fried at this point, which is good that I'm going through a deload. Obviously, I take a precautionary deload regardless of how I feel. This is 3 plates on each side, 315, 2 sets of 8 reps, really getting a good squeeze. This definitely felt easy considering last week it was 405 and 4 plates on each side. So the back heals up a little quicker and I'm able to bang it up a little bit more without feeling it too much. A little wider version for you guys to see these cable Y raises. This is 20 pounds each hand, no big deal. It's really not heavy at all, but it will get your shoulders fired up quite a bit. This is a really good accessory. I have a sixth sense inside me where I can sense if somebody's behind me, and I typically scoot up. That's kind of odd. I didn't see him at all. Moving on, I've got some seated cable flies, really getting a good stretch here. This actually was very, very easy. The last 2 reps I started to kind of feel it, but really just working on going through the motions, perfect form, really working on technique this week, or some staples. But really, you really want to take advantage of a deload, even if it's not every 4th week. You definitely want to back off the weight occasionally and keep it kind of in a regimen where you're able to let your body rely on that. Your body's really, really complex. Our bodies are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. Last thing here is some banded push downs, and basically this is just keeping the elbows healthy. I'm not working on the muscle, I'm not working on stressing anything. I just want to get those tendons firing a little bit. 2 sets of 70. Last week it was 2 sets of 100, so basically right at 70%. These are very, very easy. Typically when I get up to about 70 or so, I start feeling a little burn, but it's a good burn. But basically what I was going to tell you guys about the body is it's very smart, it's very intuitive, and your body will know what's going on, even if you don't tell it. So if it expects a routine, it will expect that routine, and if you don't do it, it's going to be pissed off at you. So this is day 2. This is actually done about 3 days later. This is lat pull downs, 180 pounds. These are actually pretty easy, really getting good form, really getting a good squeeze at the bottom. But so my body has become accustomed to getting a deload every 4th week, and so it will allow me to push it to the limit for 3 weeks, and then it knows that on that 4th week it can shut down, and typically that's why the weight feels heavier, and it will feel a lot better the week after. Got some overhead presses here, seated overhead presses, 185, 2 sets, 8 real quick. These are some throat pulls, 2 sets of 40 pounds here. Chewing gum, so really it's not a big deal. Don't let that fool you. Definitely still working on keeping focus and getting the exercise done the right way. But and actually this video here, I'm sorry, but I did a little time lapse on it accidentally, so it's kind of choppy. I had to slow it down for you guys, but this is 275 for 2 sets here, decline. That's just to keep some extra volume in, and I got some straight arm, fully extended dumbbell pullovers. Here is 55 pounds. It's actually supposed to be 60, but all the 60s were taken, so really wasn't that big of a deal to do 5 pounds less. It is a deload. Just really work on getting a good stretch in that lower pec, just to kind of open up those shoulders as well. You want to get a good stretch backwards. This is not a heavy exercise. You don't want to go super heavy on these, and you definitely don't want to go super fast. It's slow and controlled technique, and it's more of a stretch than an exercise. This always opens everything up. It feels really, really good. But like I said, coming off of a deload, giving myself that week of rest, I'm ready to step it up. Excited to tell you guys next week we're going to be going fairly heavy. I'm going to test out this new grip with a 650 bench for 1. So excited to bring that to you. That'll be on week 39. And one last thing here, or actually two things ago, we got the IYT raises. This is just 10 pounds, no big deal. Like I said earlier with the other accessories, this doesn't need to be super heavy. This is really working on shoulder mobility, just keeping those shoulders open. Being a larger guy in general, and definitely putting on some extra weight here in the last few weeks, my shoulders have definitely tightened up quite a bit, definitely gotten stronger, but I've kind of offset a little bit of mobility, and that's something that is critical, that I want to make sure that I keep as much of that as possible. It keeps from getting injured, and definitely I just like to be athletic, so I want to be able to move around. So shoulders that are mobile are gonna be definitely a benefit. Moving on, I was supposed to do calves press, but that machine was being used up by somebody doing curls in the Smith machine. So went ahead and just did some tricep rope. It was the last thing of the day to get out. So I put 160 pounds on, which is about 70% of the whole stack, which I definitely can do that. And did this for a couple sets, really getting a good squeeze at the bottom. And that wraps us up for the weekly video recap. Once again, definitely want to stress that you guys figure out a way to put some sort of rest into your training programs. I know if you have a coach, they definitely are going to stress that you get some rest. If they're not, I would definitely want to question that, because rest is where you grow. You don't grow in the gym. You grow at the dinner table, and you grow in your bed when you're sleeping. One thing that I try to do every single night is get a minimum of 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I know that's tough with some of you guys that work shifts and you're in the military and there's various situations going on, but do your best to make sure that you can get as much sleep, actual sleep time, as you can. That is critical. I would say without that, I would definitely not be where I'm at in any form of lifting right now. I'd be injured probably more often than I am. And luckily I'm not, but sleep is your number one friend when it comes to getting stronger. You definitely want to get some good sound rest. A couple of things of advice is, I don't know if you're like me, but I like a nice cold bedroom. And I say cold, I mean 69 degrees. Even though, I'm a bigger guy, even when I was 180 pounds, I like it cold in my bedroom. I like it dark. So get some darkening curtains if you need to, and quiet. Those are kind of the three things that I definitely have to have. If you got kids and things like that, put them to sleep early and get yourself to bed. And I know it sounds a lot easier. It's easier said than done, but that is critical. If you can't get it, then you're gonna have some biofeedback that's gonna tell you that you need it. And if you fight that, you probably are gonna risk injury. The other thing is diet. What you eat is definitely it's going to affect how you perform. If you're eating junk food all the time, you're going to feel it. You're not going to get those nutrients and the nourishment that you need. So not to say that I don't eat occasional McDonald's or Burger King or some sort of fast food, but it's not a staple in my diet. Definitely don't want to sit there and eat a bunch of greasy food all the time, drinking sodas every day and not get the same amount, at least in water and vitamins. That's critical. But the other thing is with your actual training, you want to incorporate some sort of rest in there, either a rest day or a back down week, if you will, like this deload week, where you're actually able to kind of go in, and you still want to be mentally checked in and focused, but you can kind of take your body to a level of relaxation where you know that you're getting some active recovery and you're not having to go full force. And that really does help with the mental aspect of lifting. If I go into the gym always knowing that I have to do 600 pounds on bench, even though I'm sure I'm capable of that on any given day, it's not good for the body. It's not going to allow me to keep getting stronger. And so I hear a lot of guys that will reach out and they'll ask me how to get stronger. And I ask them, what is it that you're doing, on a typical bench day? For bench example, and they'll say, my max is 315, and every time I go in the gym, I'm doing 290 for reps, for 1 or 2 reps, and I can't seem to get past 315. And every 3 or 4 weeks, they're going for 315 again. Well, that right there tells me that something's up with their training, that they can't keep doing that. That's basically maxing out. That would be the equivalent of me going in, as you guys know, my max is 672. That would be like me going in every 3 weeks and trying to go for a 700-pound bench press because my max is 672. At some point, I'm going to break something. Something's going to break down. Your body just can't handle going 100% like that all the time. Now, there's a difference between going 100% effort and actually maxing out. And I've covered that before in some videos, but I think you guys know exactly what I mean. If you don't, please shoot me a comment. I will gladly explain it to you in whatever way I can get through, just to help you out. Any way I can do for you. But I'm not going to have any question and answers this week. I kind of got on my video review a little bit late. As you know, last week I had a little bout of food poisoning and kind of set me back a few days on all my video stuff. So I apologize for not having a lot of question and answer for you this week, but definitely submit yours, and I'm keeping them on file. That way I can come up with some new ones for the next couple video recaps. But stay tuned. Next week, it's on the schedule. Monday, I'm going to be hitting 650 for a single and some really heavy static holds up in the 700s. I'm really excited about that. Really excited to test out the new grip, see how it holds up, see how fast I can move that 650. I really want it to pop off this training cycle. I want this to come together and have this be the final one. And you know, I'm a realist. If it's not, we just go back to the drawing board. We just keep getting better. It's going to keep getting better and better. Before you know it, we're going to so close we can taste it, and it's going to happen. So stay tuned. But if you guys haven't already noticed the shirt that I'm wearing, this is the Buddy Light shirt. I want to shout out to my buddies over at MASSENOMICS. And if you guys don't know about them, check them out. They're on YouTube, MASSENOMICS. I'll put a link down below for you guys to check them out, but also check out their podcast. That's what they're known for. They have a really great podcast that talks about the strength community, and they talk about strength sports mixed in with a couple of different segments that are pretty funny. But I've been following those guys for a little while, and they're up to about 160 or so episodes. So they've been around a lot longer than some of the podcasts out there. And I think they're one of the better ones, but they're really down-to-earth guys, so check them out. They're also on Instagram at MASSENOMICS, and check that link out as well. But that is going to be it for this week's recap. Deloads are pretty low-key. I like to keep them that way. Basically going to shoot this video and go to sleep myself, just because I know I'm getting ready for the weekend, and I got 3 days until the 650, so I'm already prepping mentally for it. So I'm already eating what I need to eat. I'm already getting the calories in. I'm taking my vitamins, taking my protein shakes just to get some extra protein in there. Definitely urge you to eat raw foods to get your, or not necessarily raw, but like vegan or organic or anything like that. Not stressing that, but definitely get, eat meat to get your protein. And if you don't get enough protein, or if you're not getting enough calories in, take a shake as a supplemental thing. I wouldn't just sit there and down shakes all the time. But that is it. Definitely check me out on Instagram at SwimHack, and please like and subscribe this video and this channel. Share it with your friends, and I will see you guys next week for 650 on my road to 700 pounds. See ya.